The Mecha Base and War Machine are two currently unobtainable towers. That means it is very rare to get to see them in action, and you'll need an admin to place them for you. It's really a shame because these towers are incredibly powerful and have some of the coolest designs in the entire game. To my surprise, I was able to get into a game with an admin. Because of this, I got to see the War Machine and Mecha Base in action. So, now that I've been able to see both of them, which tower is better? In today's video, I'll be going over the stats, values, capabilities, and uses for these towers to help you decide which one is better. Before I continue, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to join the Blue Hair Mafia. It helps me out a lot and I really appreciate it. Also, if you want to talk to me, suggest videos, or maybe even be in one, consider joining the Blue Head Mafia Discord. It's a great time and I hope to see you there. Now, let's start by looking at the Mecha Base. The Mecha Base is a unit spawning tower, similar to the military base. It costs 5,000 cash to place. Level 0, it spawns Mark 1 walkers. These are huge powerful mechas that walk across the path and fire at enemies within their range. The Mark 1 mecha has 400 health, spawns every 60 seconds, deals 8 damage, has a fire rate of 0.23, a range of 25, and a DPS of 34.78. The level 1 mecha base costs a total of 5,400 cash. The Mark 1 mech now gains a missile launcher. It deals 8 damage, has an explosion range of 10, and fires rockets every 5 seconds. The mech has a total DPS of 36.38. The level 2 mecha base costs a total of 6,300 cash. It now spawns Mark 2 mechas. They have 750 health, deal 10 damage, have a fire rate of 0.18, and a DPS of 57.16. The level 3 mecha base costs a total of 8,700 cash. It now spawns Mark 3 mechas. They have 1,200 health, a fire rate of 0.11, fires rockets every 3 seconds, and has a DPS of 93.57. The level 4 mecha base costs a total of 13,200 cash. It now spawns Mark 4 mechas. They have 2,000 health, fire 4 missiles at a time, have a fire rate of 0.08, a range of 100, and a DPS of 135.67. Finally, the level 5 mecha base costs a total of 19,700 cash. It now spawns Mark 5 mechas. They have 5,000 health, deal 20 damage, and have a DPS of 260.67. Undoubtedly, and as you probably already know, the mecha base is absolutely busted. Even just a single mech has more DPS than a max accelerator, and the mecha base in total costs less than half of what the max accelerator does. One Mark 5 mech has a DPS to cost ratio of 13.23, which is 67.2% better value than the accelerator. And remember, that's just a single mech. The mecha base spawns one mech every 60 seconds. Considering their slow walk speed, you can end up with several mechs at once. I'm gonna say on an average map, you'll be able to get up about 3 mechs at once per mecha base. If we multiply 260.67 DPS by 3, we get a total of 782.01 DPS per mecha base for only 19,700 cash. That's a DPS cost ratio of 39.70, which from my knowledge is the best value out of any tower in the entire game. Its amazing value and high DPS makes it an absolute menace of a tower. But how does it compare to the War Machine? The War Machine costs 2,000 cash to place. It's a humanoid tower wearing an exoskeleton suit with a minigun mounted on top of it. It deals 1 damage, fires every 0.1 seconds, has a range of 12, and a DPS of 10. The level 1 War Machine costs a total of 2,250 cash. The only change is it now has a range of 18. The level 2 War Machine costs a total of 2,900 cash. It deals 2 damage and has a range of 22. It also gains a missile launcher, which fires a single missile that deals 20 damage every 5 seconds. It has a total of 24 DPS. The level 3 War Machine costs a total of 7,900 cash. It deals 4 damage and now gives a 10% damage buff to all towers within its range. It has a total of 44 DPS. This damage buff is one of the main advantages of the War Machine and ends up being its main usage. The level 4 War Machine costs a total of 20,400 cash. It deals 10 damage, 25 rocket damage, fires missiles in bursts of 4, has a range of 24, and has a DPS of 120. The level 5 War Machine costs a total of 95,400 cash. It deals 18 damage, shoots missiles every 3 seconds, has a range of 26, and gives a 20% damage buff instead of 10. It also has a total DPS of 213.33. Considering how expensive this upgrade is it worth it? Well, how good it is really depends on the towers surrounding it, similar to the Commander. The stronger the tower is being supported, the better value the War Machine has. Let's say we're playing a squad game and all 4 players place 20 max golden minigunners each. That will give us a total of 80 golden minigunners, which adds up to a DPS of 8,276. If we apply the War Machine buff to that, we end up with 9,931.2 DPS, which is 1,655.2 DPS more. Adding that to the War Machine's personal 213.33 DPS, we get a total of 1,868.53 DPS from the War Machine. That gives the War Machine a DPS to cost ratio of 19.59 DPS per 1k spent, which is actually really good. But because the level 3 upgrade gives a 10% buff and only costs 7,900 cash, let's see how good its value compares to level 5. Let's again say that there are 80 golden minigunners within this radius. The 10% buff will give us a total DPS of 9,103.6, which is an 827.6 DPS increase. The level 3 War Machine has a DPS of 44, so adding that gives us a total of 871.6 DPS for 7,900 cash. That's a DPS to cost ratio of 110.33 DPS per 1k spent. That is just insane. That's 5.63 times better value than the level 5 War Machine. So unless you're trying to max out in the late game, you're much better off just getting a single level 3 War Machine and spending the rest of your cash in other forms of DPS. One thing to note is there really isn't any reason to get a second level 3 or 5 War Machine as their buff does not stack. If you're looking for DPS, the level with the best value is the level 2 War Machine, with a DPS to cost ratio of 8.27 DPS per 1k spent. In comparison, when not using its first buff, the level 5 War Machine has a DPS to cost ratio of 2.24 DPS per 1k spent, which is absolutely terrible. So, now that we've gone over each tower, which one is better? Well, in terms of DPS, it's pretty clear that the Mecha Base is superior. I mean, a single mecha has more DPS than a maxed out War Machine. But of course, the War Machine has a huge advantage, that being its 10 to 20% damage buff. While this is obviously an amazing buff, and if the War Machine were to get added, it would likely be used a lot for that, I feel it has a slight issue. If you're just using it for a way to increase your tower's damage, why not just use a support tower like the Commander? Of course you can decide to bring both these towers, but with the existence of the DJ, Commander, and War Machine, it might be difficult to bring 3 support towers. While the War Machine's 20% buff is powerful, the Commander can get a passive 25% fire rate buff and increase that to a 55% buff using its ability for only 17,800 cash. This is both a significantly better buff as well as being 77,600 cash cheaper. You might think that the War Machine makes up for this with its DPS, but it honestly doesn't even have the high of a DPS for its cost. Remember, a single level 5 War Machine has a total DPS of 213.33 for 95,400 cash. If we get a maxed out Commander, that leaves us with 77,600 cash to spend. With that, we can get a maxed out Accelerator and a maxed out Golden Minigunner. That means that for the same price as the War Machine, we can get a total of 311.78 DPS and a 25 to 55% fire rate buff to our towers. That's significantly better. Also, the War Machine lacks a very important factor, which is hidden detection. While the Mecha Base technically does not have hidden detection, the mechas can damage them through collision, and considering the Mark V mecha has 5,000 health, that's more than enough to deal with them. So, which tower is better? Well, let's see what my boy SinisterPumpkin has to say about that.
SinisterPumpkin here. In my opinion, the Mecha Base is significantly better. Its DPS is absolutely broken, and while the War Machine's buff would definitely be a highly valuable asset, it just feels like a worse version of the Commander. Maybe if the War Machine received a price decrease, it would stand a better chance. But as it stands, I feel that it is far too expensive to compete with the Mecha Base. But what do you think? Is the Mecha Base better, or is the War Machine's DPS plus support combo superior? Let me know what you think in the comments down below.
That's it for this video. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe to join the Blue Hat Mafia. My name is Corso, and I'll see y'all in the next video.